Hey guys, welcome to the weekly live event. So we talk about real estate, finance, investing, and taxes. We do this every week on Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And usually this is a great time to ask me questions because there's not that many people on, so all the dedicated people get their questions answered and get to learn the most value for their time. So I have a bunch of questions that people have sent me in through Instagram, and I'll be answering those questions as we wait for the questions to come through from everybody else. So guys, how's your weekend been? All right. Well, today is a great day. I like Sundays because I look forward to Mondays. I look forward to getting back to the project and checking how everything's going. Everything's been going great. Since last week, we got the furniture in, we got the properties cleaned, and they're basically ready for the December 28th move-in date for the Airbnb's clients. I really don't do Airbnb, it's basically short-term rental clients. So everything's going great on that side. As I mentioned on Instagram, I had one guy actually, he's a company, offer to pay full 12 months of rent, one shot for the full cottage. So that's basically is offered like $32,500 for a full year's rent up front, which is awesome, right? But I responded back, I want $36,000. And even at $36,000, that's a good deal for him. It's $3,000. It averages out to be about $3,000 a month for him, where if I rented it out on Airbnb, I could probably rent it out for about $5,000 a month. And there's logical reasoning for that as well. So I will make sure to go over that later if anybody wants to know. And actually, I don't know if you can tell, I got a message from Airbnb. That means somebody else wants to book a place. So that's awesome. Things have been going really good. I haven't done many Airbnbs in the past, but I decided this time I'm going to do it. I invested a lot of money, about $1.35 million, into the newest property, and it's definitely looking to be a good return on my investment. I should be returning about a 25% COC on this property, and once I do my cash out refi, or what a lot of people call BRRRR method, I basically apply the BRRRR method to a whole apartment complex or a cottage complex. So when I'm done, I should be attaining a 50% COC on an annual rental basis. And if I do Airbnbs for the entire complex, I should do over 100% COC on this BRRRR apartment complex. So it's sick. The returns are sick. I'm really excited because it's just really fun being able to do something new, making it a vacation rental spot, making it very like tropical, Key West style, and it's a lot of fun. Again, guys, if you have any questions, put it in the comment section to my right, and I'll make sure to answer them. We get a lot of time together. Normally we have 60 to 100 people on the Instagram live, so I don't always get to answer even like 5% of all the questions I get. But since there's not that many people here, I'll be able to actually get to your answers. So, and I look forward to answering your questions and you guys being successful. So, all right, I'm going to give it like a couple of seconds more for anyone else to join, and then I'm going to go into the questions one by one. All right. Pulling up the questions now. Here we go. All right, so we actually got a lot of good questions. first question is, do you get interest-only mortgages? So I do multiple types of real estate investing. I do fix and flips, I do BRRRR method, and then I do long-term holds. My preferred method is long-term holds on multi-unit properties because I found that's going to make the most money and is the most conservative. A lot of people are like, isn't it a lot more conservative to own one condo or one house? I say no, it is way more conservative, significantly more conservative for you to own a 4-unit property than for you to own a single unit. Worst case scenario, you're like, I can't afford a 4-unit property. It's very likely for you to be able to afford a 2-unit property. So definitely think about that and run your scenarios before you make a decision. Now, I just got a question came in, and the question is it possible to increase rent after lease is already signed in Florida? You cannot raise a tenant's lease after it's been signed in Florida. The good news is in Florida, you don't have leases longer than 12 months. So it's not a long wait before you can increase a tenant's rent. So during that time period, what I normally do, my strategy is this. Let me fix up the outside of the property. Let me do all of that value add stuff. Let me make it more aesthetically pleasing, add curb appeal. Then I'll also talk to the tenants and be like, if there's certain upgrades I want to do. So if I want to upgrade their kitchen or bathroom or flooring or whatever else it is, I will do that while they're living there. So sometimes I won't wait for the tenant to move out to do those things where a lot of people would. I would tell them, hey, I'm going to get this done. It's going to take a week or two, and they will let me remodel their bathroom and give up use to their bathroom because they're like, oh yeah, I'll let you remodel my bathroom. I would love a brand new bathroom. Now, this is the good news. Think about this. Your rent's $1,000. If it takes you time to remodel it and there's no one in there paying your rent, that's going to stink for you. You're losing rent. But if you have a tenant that's willing to let you remodel their bathroom while they're living there, and you're still collecting rent while they're living there, the bathroom gets remodeled, and it's nicer. You lost no rent. When it comes time to renew the lease, you can ask for more rent because you spent so much money on the bathroom remodel. You can also negotiate with the tenant saying, hey, I'm going to remodel your bathroom, but I'm going to increase your rent. That is a great way to get more money for your property and not lose any money and losing any time from it being off the market. So I've done that many times. If you're in a good area, people are willing to do it. If people value nicer stuff, they're willing to let you do it. So something to keep in mind. It's really helpful. Again, any other questions, feel free to drop them on the side. I'm more than happy to answer them. You're welcome. Thank you. So now regarding interest-only loans, back to that question. I get interest-only loans when it is a fix and flip. I'm going to fix it and I'm going to flip the property. So then I'll get an interest-only loan. No reason for me to have a higher payment per month just for no reason to pay down a loan. I don't need it because I'm going to sell the property in 6 months or less and get my money on the profit from the sale. So, and if I'm doing BRRRR method, I'll also try to get an interest-only loan. Otherwise, if I'm holding long-term, it's very rare for you to find an interest-only loan on a long-term hold. That's when I normally try to go for a 30-year amortized loan on a long-term hold. That has worked out to be the best for me. We got some more questions. Question came in from Dave. He says, is it possible to invest in real estate as a college student with a co-signer? Answer is yes. I started buying real estate when I was 19. I was still in college, and I bought most of my units when I was younger while I was still a college student. So yeah, it's definitely possible. Yes, you can go to co-signer. I used to go to school full-time and work full-time. I would take classes at night. I would work during the day. And then on the weekends, I would try to fix my property to save money. Because I didn't have money. So all the money I had would go to buy the property. And then at that point, I would try to use my own time to fix the properties up. Because again, I didn't have the extra money to pay people to fix things. Now, yes, you can go to cosigner to help you on your deals for whatever reason. Because remember, the main factors to get a loan is your credit, it is your income that is currently coming in, and it is the value of the property. The value of property for down payment reasons and for affordability reasons. So can you have the down payment necessary, and can you afford the monthly payment? Now, if you're getting a multi-unit, it becomes a little easier because say you bought a 4-unit property, you're going to get 1 unit rented for yourself, and then the other 3 is going to be paying money in. So they're actually the bank will include the money from the rent that is you're buying towards your income, even though it's not on your tax return. So that's a great thing. Great question, Dave. Nancy's asking, what specific criteria do you consider when deciding if a property is a good deal? So, great question, Nancy. Now, what do I look for? In the past, I would look for cap rate, right? How much are you making? What percentage are you making of the purchase price back in rent, net amount? And that's helpful because if you bring in a high cap rate, you're bringing in a lot of money. But sometimes high cap rate could be because you're in a bad area, low income area, area where it's unstable, area where there's a lot of issues with the buildings. And where the good areas have a lower cap rate, you're like, oh man, I'd rather invest in this low income area compared to this high income area because the high income area gives me less money. Well, the high income area could be because it has higher demand. It could be because rents keep going up quick. It could be because the property is in better condition. The tenants have better sources of income, so they can always pay you the rent. Those could be the reasons why you're having the higher cap rate. So don't assume the cap rate. Now that I said that, what I passed the beginner mindset of this investing thing, that what you want to look for is I look for value add deals. What does that mean to you, right? Value add means you're going to look at a property in a neighborhood and you're going to see all the homes that are 1,000 square feet are selling for $200,000. What you want to do is you want to find a home that is kind of in a good area, but that's beat up and that's selling for maybe $150,000. Now, if you're selling for $150,000, you can put in $20,000 into it, $30,000 into it, fix it up, and now you got a property for $180,000 that's in better condition than the other properties that are selling for $200,000. So then your property is really worth $220,000. Now that's a value add deal. You're able to make your rent, your cap rate is going to end up being higher because it's off of $180,000, not off of $200,000. So in turn, I look for properties that have value add. Also, I look for properties in area that the prices of the properties keep going up. It's a high demand area. Not a cyclical high demand area, but it has some really good key characteristics, key factors on why you'd want to live there. So like I'm buying a lot of properties like right by the water, not on the water because I don't want to pay flood insurance, but a couple of property streets away. If I have to pay flood insurance, I will pay flood insurance to buy a property if the property is a really good deal. Also, I buy properties by downtown areas. Those downtown areas, mark my words, this is my prediction. Over the next 15 years, people are going to want to be close to downtown areas because all day you're on your phone, you're on the computer, you're working on a computer, you're doing stuff, you're not interacting with people. And finally, at the end of the day, people would really like to just take their dog out, walk their dog down the street, and be around a whole lot of people that are in a good mood, that are in a downtown area, that are in a good mood, that are out, going to go have some drinks, have dinner, and be in a good mood. They want to surround themselves with that. Even though the people, again, still might choose not to talk to anybody because they're on their phone, texting their friends or whatever. But that energy, being around other people, it's really addicting. It's really nice. So when they can get that, that's a great thing for them. And I think society is going to be moving in that direction because people want to interact, right? They want that connection. But there's also benefits to the internet because you guys get what I don't have. I didn't get this type of time with an investor that knew what he was doing and be able to give me all this information for free. I had to go travel and try to find people and get a couple of minutes just to get the answers. Great question, Nancy. So Abe says, how much cash do you prefer for down payment? 20, 25, or even lesser possible. How low FHA needs as down payment? So, Abe, FHA can go as low as 3.5% down. That's why I say on your first deal, you should really try to get 2-unit, 3-unit, or 4-unit property. Because if you find a 4-unit property and it's $400,000, you only need 3.5% down. So that's going to be $14,000 down. Plus closing costs $5,000. You're about $19,000 to get into a property. Now, some people say, well, that's not really conservative because now you own all this debt. Well, the issue is not the debt. The issue is, does the property make enough money in rent to cash flow? Because if it does, you're good. Because again, what we can count on is an inflation. Inflation is set by the government. The target inflation rate by the government is 2%. And it's always been over 2%. Real estate average is 4%, right? Statistical average for like a 100-year history. So if you buy a $400,000 place, every year you can roughly estimate that the property value is going to go up $16,000, ignoring your rent and everything else, ignoring the fact that you bought it in a good area. So now, 10 years later, that $400,000 place is worth $160,000 more on average. So that's your win, not your rent, not the $400 or $600 rent you made a month, which is nice, but the actual appreciation. If you watch my video, I have a video on YouTube that explains how the inflation affects your property value, and it shows that you made more money on paying down the loan and the appreciation of your property because of inflation than you did on your rent. You make double, triple the money compared to what you made netting off the rent. So you want to maximize that because, again, the second and third deal, your second deal can also be a lower amount of down payment, maybe like 15 to 20%, because you're going to say, I'm going to move into the next property, I'm going to move out of this 4-unit. But normally after that, you're going to have to put down about 20 to 30% on an investment property. And then obviously you're going to say, oh man, it's going to get so much harder. I really wish I bought a 4-unit on my first deal. So that's the reason why I mentioned that. Great question, Abe. David has another question. Dave says, thank you, Pascal. I always enjoy all your valuable content. Guys, honestly, I do it for you guys. I really want you to be successful. I want you to do it. I was able to accomplish it from the help of others, and I want you guys to be successful as well. So just take advice. Watch all my videos multiple times because you're not going to automatically get it the first time you watch it. I didn't either. I read the books that I read multiple times that I told you guys to read as well, because you need to absorb it to understand it. Because if you're being taught stuff by people that aren't rich, you're going to start thinking that way, and you need to fill yourself up with the right information so you can change your mind. And then by the changing your mind, you will change your actions. You must act on what you learned, and then you can grow financially. So thank you. Thank you for all the positive feedback. Thank you for all the likes and all the comments you leave. I really appreciate that. Fishy says, if I'm 27 and I want to get into real estate, should I approach it more aggressively versus someone that's young and has time on their side? So, Fishy, you're 27. Reality is this. The average person is going to probably live to 100. So you don't have to be super aggressive. Do you need to be somewhat aggressive? Yes. But where you need to find your aggression is in studying your market. I will never deviate off of telling you that. Study your market. Because everyone's like, oh, I can't buy here, I can't buy here. Let me tell you this. If you lived in LA and you had everything's $400,000 and you're like, oh, there's no good deals, I can't buy a multi-unit for, because everything's at least 400 and up. All right. Well, dude, maybe you're going to find a property that's worth 500 that's beat up, and you get it for 400, and then you put in 20, 30 grand into it. And then after 6 months or a year, you sell it for 70,000 profit. So by studying your market, you're going to know, man, that property's selling for 400. It's a little beat up, 20, 30 grand. I could fix it up and it's worth 500. That's your win. You don't always have to leave your market. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you should go an hour to 2 hours outside of your market to get a better deal. But the point is, it's not necessary. Studying your market is the way where you get the deals, because when a good deal comes up, I look at 1,000 deals before buying something. And some people would say that's a waste of time. I say it's not, Because then when you look at all these deals, you know what they're going for. You know what they're asking for. You know what they sell for, because you'll sometimes check back. But like, I was interested in that. How much did it sell for? Okay, he bought it for a pretty good deal. What did he do? He remodeled it, and then he sold it for even more money. So now you can understand, man, I could have done the same thing, or I thought I had that idea, and I did the same thing, and I could have made that money. So by studying your market, you learn those things. And that's a great way for you to grow. You can always learn from someone else's actions. And you can also learn when someone bought a property to remodel it, and man, it took them a year to remodel that property and sell. That's crazy. And also, maybe you're going to buy a property, go to that property and let the person know, hey, I was going to buy it and it just didn't work out. How's it going with you? How's the project going? Do you mind if I check it out? You can go there and look at what they're doing. A lot of times people are friendly and be like, sorry, you missed that out. You missed out on it. Come check everything out. And you can see what they're doing, and you can pick their brain and understand why they're doing it. So it's a great way to learn. Next question, Fishy said, is can you rent out space if you're the one renting out space? It's called, I'm assuming you're saying if you rented a property from me and then you want to rent it again to someone else. That's called subleasing. Some places allow subleasing. Some places don't. So be careful when you're doing that. Part 2 of this, the follow-up point is this. Some cities don't allow Airbnb and have regulation. So a lot of people sublease to Airbnb it. At that point, again, it might not be worth it because the city won't allow it. So I do know some people who've done it and don't even care that the city didn't allow it because they're like, I don't care. I'm going to do it. Hopefully I won't get caught and I'll try to make extra money. That I would not do as a beginner or even if you're a professional, because the amount of risk you take is huge. So be careful, guys. James Pan says, do you have different banks for different businesses? I do have different banks that I use to give me different loans, because not all banks will give me the same type of loan. Not all banks want to get into a deal. Some banks have limits on how many deals they want to do. So yes, I do use multiple different banks for loans and for different types of loans. So my office has a different loan than I have on my rental properties and so on. And so yeah, depending on the deal. Sometimes I get hard money loans, and obviously hard money lenders are private lenders. So it depends the deal. James also asks, how many credit cards do you hold? When you buy property, do you deal only with one bank or have multiple banks? So I answered the bank question. The next part of your question is, how many credit cards do I have? I have probably 20 or 30. I have probably 10 business credit cards, and then I have 20 personal, but I barely use any of the personal ones. I only use actually don't use any of my personal cards. I only use my business cards. Now, why do I have it? Because your credit cards are your history. If you delete a credit card that you've had for 10 years, if you cancel it, you deleted 10 years of credit history. Yeah, 10 years you deleted by getting rid of that card. Plus, let's just say you have 10 credit cards and each of them are $10,000 credit limit. Your overall short-term credit or your credit card credit limit is $100,000 total. So one of the things where they assess your credit score is, say you have your total credit card you're using is $10,000, but your total available limit is $100,000. You're only utilizing 10%. And because you're only utilizing 10%, then it's going to look good on you because you're like, oh, the guy has a lot more money he could use. That's another way that your credit is assessed. So Nancy asks, how do you establish relationships with realtors to let you know about good deals when you are just starting? So Nancy, you just basically be honest and upfront. I want to buy a deal. I want you to help me find a good deal. Please set me up. Now, this is what's going to happen then. That realtor, if they don't want to pay a lot of attention to you, they're going to set you up in their automated system, which means they're going to ask you, what are you looking for? I'm looking for this city, this city, this city within this price range. I'm looking for multi-unit properties, blah, blah, blah. So what they're going to do, the realtor's going to put everything in that you mentioned into a computer system, their MLS system, and it's going to automatically email you Anytime you have a home that is any properties for sale between a 0 to 500,000 in all the cities you mentioned, and it's at least 2 units or more, it'll automatically be sent to you. The realtor won't even know it was sent to you because the computer's automatically going to send it to you. If they want to talk to you about it and tell you about it, awesome. If they don't, and you're not getting a lot of attention from them, you can take that information and go find out who is the listing agent, right? When you find out who the listing agent is, call that listing agent and tell them, hey, you're interested in buying. Because now that listing agent will make 3% from the seller and 3% from the buyer. Now they're going to make 6%. How much harder are they going to want to sell it to you? Because they're going to make 6% on the $100,000, $6,000, compared to somebody else that is contacting him and he's only going to get $3,000, 3%. He's going to want you to get the deal. So he's going to be more willing to help you get the deal. So that's another way that I do things. I go to the listing agent and say, hey guys, I don't have an agent. I want you to take care of me. Or I am an agent, but I don't want any of the commission. You can keep my commission. Let me get this deal. Because when you find a good deal, $3,000 isn't going to matter if you're making $20,000 on the deal, $30,000 on the deal. Remember that. Hugo says, oh, another way you build relationships is buying deals. If you keep buying deals, people are going to want to build a relationship with you. Hugo says, is it safe to buy a property in a gentrifying area? Hugo, I prefer buying properties in gentrifying areas. That's what I like because it's the most money that you get is those that you ride that wave up. But you need to see significant gentrification happening or significant players getting in. Like in the stock market, if you heard like a secret that Boeing is going to, and buy out a small company and you go buy that small company, that's illegal. You can't do that. It's called insider trading. But in real estate, if you find out that Boeing is going to build a new plant in this city, that means all the rental property is going to go up in price because there's going to be some high income earners coming in and they're going to suck up all the good real estate, and then everybody else is going to have to find other real estate to rent in. That's not illegal. You can do that. So while you going and buying into gentrified areas, knowing where it's going to go, you are going to benefit. But don't go in and just be like, oh, I see like 2 or 3 houses getting remodeled and that's it. No, you need to find some like real good deals for it to make sense. Flock says, how can you start without money? It probably easier for you to start without any money is for you to JV a deal, which means you find an awesome deal, and then you come to someone like me and say, look, I found this awesome deal. I want to partner with you. I'll let you have this deal. Let's work out a commission. Let's work out a split where I get this much and you get this much. And by you starting to go up to like local events and meeting different players, you can make relationships and say, hey, if I found you a deal, would you work out a commission with me? And I'm telling you, 99 out of 100%, they're going to say yes. You might get one weirdo, but otherwise, the hardest thing in this game, is to find a good deal. So finding money is not hard. You'll get money thrown at your head all the time if you find a good deal. So, good question. Jose says, how much money did you originally start off to purchase your first property, if you don't mind me asking? Jose, I'm an open book. I don't mind anything. You can ask whatever you want. I started out my first deal. I put down $28,000. I put down 20% on a $140,000 property, and I'm actually selling the property now later this month. So I'm closing out on that property. I've had it for about 15 years. So the second deal, though, I learned I didn't need to put down as much money. The second property I bought I only put down $8,000. And that $8,000 made me over $100,000 on that deal, not counting all the money I made on the rent. So there is different ways you can do it. So first deal, $28,000. Second deal, $8,000. And this is the awesome part. Get ready for this. That $8,000, what I did is I took a loan out on the first property I bought. And the bank gave me $21,000. So I bought the property, put down $28,000, and then I went back to the bank 6 months later and said, hey, I want a second loan on this property, and they gave me back the $21,000. So then I just took that $8,000 and put it down on the next deal, So I basically had no money into that deal. And I basically bought, that's how I went from 0 to 23 properties by the time I was 23. I just kept buying properties, doing fixes to them, adding value, buying them for a really good price, less than what they're worth, and then a little bit later, 6 months to a year later, I'd go back to the bank and ask for a second loan or refinance the whole deal and get it cash out and use that additional cash. And I didn't blow it. I didn't buy a whole bunch of stuff because a lot of people will make that mistake and go fancy. No, I spent the money and bought another deal, then another one, then another one. Because I knew if I had, $3 million in real estate by the time I was 23, I can get that to grow at 4% a year. It's growing at $120,000 a year in value. 10 years later, I gained $1.2 million in value on this real estate. I really didn't have to do anything, fix it or anything. Like obviously maintenance you have to do, but like I didn't do any value add upgrades. And if I did do value add upgrades, I would make it worth even more money. So imagine that. Right now I have like $6 million in real estate. So without me doing anything, ignoring the rent I get, ignoring how much I'm paying down the mortgages, ignoring everything, my property wealth will grow $240,000 a year, not doing anything. Over 10 years, I'll grow $2.4 million in property appreciation, ignoring paying down the loans, ignoring the rent I receive. That's awesome. That's the power of real estate. So smash the like button if you like that in real estate, because I love that. That's what made me get in. Part of the reason. So, great question though. So James asked a question. James says, can I buy a property with the bank which I don't have an account with? Yes. I have many different loans with banks I never had an account with. They will give you a loan because they want the business. Remember, banks make money by loaning money out. Don't think the bank wants to say no. No. The bank wants to say yes. They want you to take the money. Now, if they're not saying yes, you have to look, why are they saying no? So when I got in the game, I actually took some time and I studied. I'm like, what is a bank looking for? They're looking for this. They're looking for income. They're looking for down payment. They're looking for asset value. So when you have these things, right, they're going to say yes. And again, you can go to someone like me, your accountant, and you can actually get them to review your deal before you even go to them and be like, this is how you get to say yes. So it's really important that you got to have a positive, optimistic outlook. Like, it is doable. Again, it took me 5 years before doing my first deal. But when I finally did it, I went from no properties to 4 years later at 23, having 23 units. So it's definitely doable. It might take some time, but imagine this. You spent 4 years, 5 years to go to college, and you come out, you're only making $35,000 a year. You can spend 4 years to learn a skill, a trade, for you to make a lot of money. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a real estate investor. I'm an investor. I invest in everything. But why do I preach about real estate? Is because it's the easiest way to get wealthy. It is the fastest way to get wealthy. It's the most conservative way to get wealthy. Now, is there other ways where you can get crazy wealthy other than real estate? Yes. But the risk is so much more that is not as conservative as going the real estate route. All right, Heba says, Heba Riyad, that name is very familiar. I know somebody else named Heba Riyad. Interesting. But I don't think you're the same person. But hello, Pascal. What is the benefits of investing on intangible assets? So by investing in intangible assets, that's where I'm going back to saying, hey, it's not as conservative as real estate, because when you have a tangible asset you can touch, that's what counts, right? You can invest in intangible assets. I own stocks. I own other things, but I was one of the first people to really get into Bitcoin, but that's a whole other story. So the point is, you don't have control. Why real estate's awesome is because you have control over the asset. You're managing it. Or you can tell the property manager what to do. But when you're dealing with stocks or cryptocurrency, you have no control over what happens. And that's what makes it not as conservative. Hiba says, what is the best advice you would say for real estate agents? Provide value. The only reason people watch me on Instagram and YouTube is because I'm teaching something. I'm giving something. I'm doing something, right? I've met a lot of agents that don't know the market. I just went with my friend right now, right? I went with him a couple of days ago to look at a $400,000 office building because he wanted to buy it. He asked a real estate agent. There's 3 agents there, buying agent, selling agent, and there's one other agent. I don't even know why he was there. And he asked one simple question. The $650 in association dues for this commercial office building, what does it cover? None of them knew the answer. Why don't you know the answer? You're coming to show this person a $400,000 office, and you don't know the answer? Like of what a basic expense is, like something he's gonna have to pay every single month, and you don't know what it covers. Like, what are you doing? Like, you just went to open a door? Like, you got to think about that. Zillow's getting in the game. All these huge companies are getting into the game. All these huge companies are now offering to buy people's houses sight unseen, right? They're going to cut out all agents. Not all agents, because of good ones. They're going to get the answer for what the CAM is, and they're going to figure out what to do with the association and get all those answers for the buyer. They're going to have a job. I'm going to love that person, right? Because I love the agent that gets all these answers for me and does this work that takes up this time for me. And guess what? They're going to make $12,000 because of that time that they spent. And those agents are going to keep having jobs. So provide value. Do something for your people. And you're going to get the benefit for it as well. Great question, Hiba. Fishy has another question. It says, for your first deal, do you recommend partnering with a real estate agent who has knowledge on real estate investing? I'll be honest with you. There's 90% of real estate agents do not invest in real estate. It's a sad fact. I had many agents that were like, oh, I wouldn't buy that property. And I would ask them, why? They're like, oh, man, I don't like it or something like that, right? And I'm like, well, look at my data. This is the income. This is what I plan to do. This is the expenses. This is the net return. This is my projections for the future. This is the comps based off of this. Why wouldn't, is this all look good to you? And they're like, yeah, it looks good. Does it look accurate? Yeah, it looks accurate. But why wouldn't you do it? Well, I don't know. I just wouldn't do it. So most of them don't invest. Most people who are investing are investors. And the people who are investors usually aren't agents anymore. They're brokers, and they have other agents underneath them that are new, that don't really know as much. So there is good agents out there, but you have to spend your time to find them to see what value they're adding for you. And all of us, investor, real estate agent, mortgage broker, you need to know what you're doing. You need to study your market. You need to know what's worth, because then when you're adding value and you're helping people do well in their life, they're going to keep coming back to you to do more business. So people don't just buy one house in their life anymore. They usually stay in a house for 5 to 7 years. So there's a lot of time where you can get a residual business. Again, I own an accounting firm. I own insurance agencies. And I'm looking to open a lending company. So making sure people are successful is key. Because if they're successful, they keep coming back, and they also refer their friends. As you guys should refer your friends to my page on YouTube and Instagram. So Hugo says, why do you put 20% in your first property? Honestly, I'm super conservative when I started. Very, very conservative. So I put down 20%. That's why. I was 19, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm even getting a deal. So I did that. And now I'm in commercial deals and I'm in larger deals, so I have to put down like 20, 30%. This last deal, I got lucky. I only put down about 10%. So, and I only did because why not? I don't want to put in extra money if I don't have to. I'd rather use the money for renovations. So Nancy asks, is it beneficial to get a real estate license to save the fees? It is somewhat beneficial to get a real estate license so you have access to that MLS if you're going to be searching hardcore. Otherwise, if you're just searching right now, we have Zillow and all those other things you can search to find deals. That's also a way you can find deals. And to be honest, when the good deal's out there, you're going to want to just let the other agent have all the fees. Keep it all. Because again, 3% is nothing to you if you're getting a property 10, 20% under market value. Now, if you're going to be buying properties that are on the market, say for like a long time and they don't have a lot of demand because they're not marketed very well and all that, right? Then you probably are going for less attractive properties, and you can go have your own real estate license and try to like save an additional 3% by saving the fee. But yeah, it is beneficial. It is beneficial by having it. Plus, you'll learn a lot more about the game. Abe says, can FHA down payment of 3.5%, is it possible to buy property under the name of LLC, not individual? No, it's not possible. Anytime you get a government loan, right, that's Fannie or Freddie backed, you has to be in an individual name, and for a first-time home buyer, it must be owner-occupied property. Now, after you're finished, there is loans that you can get that will allow you to then go to the county and quick claim the property to an LLC's name, but initially it would be in your name, and the loan would still be in your name continually. So be aware of that. Good question. So James says, if I find a good deal and give it to an investor, it says, if I find a good deal and give it to an investor, how can I protect the deal if we share the information and the investor didn't pay me? So you can do an assignment lease, an assignment contract. So you're selling them, they're signing a contract with you, and that way they can't. So in Florida, they would I would sign a contract, and then when I go to the closing agent would collect so for example, this is the property I bought. I bought a property for $95,000, and I signed an assignment contract to the guy, and the guy was selling it. He bought it for $85,000. So it went to closing. The closing agent took my 95, gave him 10, gave the seller 85. And so they can't really get around you. Now, if you don't sign any documents, you don't sign a contract, then it's a problem. Now, normally what you do as well, James, is that you sign a contract. You sign actually two contracts. You sign one contract with the buyer. Now, you and the buyer have a contract that he's going to sell to you for 85, and then you sign another contract for 95 with the seller, or with the new buyer, which is, say, me. So now you have the seller, $85,000 contract to you, and then you have a $95,000 contract to me, and then you pocket a $10,000 difference at closing. That's why you can do it. Or another way you could do it is by creating a partnership with that person, and that person can give you 10% of the profit when the property is remodeled. So instead of getting, say, $10,000, you'll be like, okay, hey, keep it. Once you remodel it, I want $15,000 after it's done. And that way, you can make extra money. And you could probably watch the way he does the deal. Like, that could be part of your contingency. Hey, I want to see you do the deal. I want to see how you're doing it, and so on. So you can learn. James asks, is it important to get a real estate license to be an agent or an investor? To be an investor, you don't have to get a real estate license. I have actually bought and sold many properties without a license, directly with the other individual or with the other agent. So I list my own properties, and then agents will come to me with buyers. So I only pay 3% to the agent, and I don't pay 3% fees. One is a buyer fee, and one is a seller fee. That's another way I save money. And my deals are normally $300,000, so I save $18,000, or I save $9,000 in commissions, which actually helps me sell it faster, because I normally what I'll do is I'll just sell the property for $9,000 less, so I'll end up getting a buyer quicker. Fishy says, how do you find your lenders or even properties, online or face-to-face? Most of them I find online. Again, rarely I find them face-to-face. Maybe one I found face-to-face, but 99% I find online. Same thing with lenders. I go on Google, I search what lenders are available in the area, and I start making phone call after phone call. I get water. All right. Flock says, mentor me. I want to buy my first property. I have 10 grand, but only have a little of employment history. So, Flock, the best way for you, one, you need to study your market. So if you haven't been in the game that long, you need to study your market because you don't even know what a good deal looks like yet. So in your market, buying something for $200,000 could be a steal. In someone else's market, that could be expensive or cheap. So it really depends. Now, you need to watch all my videos too, because if you're not building up a knowledge base of how the business works, it's not going to help. You're going to end up making a mistake. Part 2, you need to save up more than $10,000. $10,000 is acceptable. You can do it with 10, but if something goes wrong and you need additional money, it's going to be a problem. You're going to lose that property and you're going to lose your 10 grand. I'll give you an example. This last property I bought it for $920,000. I was planning to do the remodel for about $150,000. And now I'm $350,000 in the remodel. That's right. I am $200,000 more than I originally expected to put into this remodel. I did add a lot of upgrades to it, right? But if something like that happens and you don't have the money, it's a problem. And now I'm probably going to be an additional $50,000 over on this. So I'm probably going to be in for about $400,000 on this remodel. So if you don't have the money, it's going to be a problem because you're going to lose everything. You don't want to get into that position. Now, the best thing for you to do is, if you don't have much employment history, is that you could get a hard money loan, right? Because they don't care about your employment history. They only care, is the deal good? Or you can partner with someone that's local, that wants to do the deal with you. Those are all options. But for you to get 3.5% FHA loan, that won't be an option because you have to have usually 2 years of history to get that loan. Can you explain over-leveraging? Over-leveraging can mean many different things. So can you ask in more detail what type of over-leveraging you're talking about? Fishy says, do all properties need to get flipped? No, not all properties need to get flipped. Like most of my properties, like flip normally means you buy it, fix it, and sell it. That's a flip, and you're in and out between 1 month to 1 year, or even 1 week to 1 year. A lot of my properties I keep for like 5 to 15 years. Now, eventually, you're going to have a whole bunch of properties, and a lot of them are going to be small. So what you're going to do is you're going to end up selling some of them, because you have to sell some of your smaller stuff so you could bunch up your money and start going for bigger deals. But no, not all properties need to be flipped. Like some of the areas I'm buying in now or bought in a while ago are in gentrified areas, and they're still climbing. They're only halfway through. So because of that, it's not worth me selling it because I still got way more upside on it. Hugo says, how long should I wait to sell a property after rehabilitation? It depends, Hugo. Like, it depends. Now, a lot of times I would say don't sell it, BRRRR method it. What are the BRRRR method is this? You buy a property for $100,000. You put in $20,000 into the remodel. It is now worth $160,000. You go to the bank and you say, look, it's worth $160,000. I have $120,000 into it. I would like a refinance for $120,000. Pay off the old loans. Give me back the cash I spent on the remodel. And now I only owe one loan for $120,000 and I have no money in this deal. Now you kept the property with no money in it, and you're collecting the rent, and you're letting the property appreciate. What do you do with that money? You go find another property to do another BRRRR method on, and you keep doing it again and again. And that's how you build a huge portfolio. That's how I built a portfolio with only $28,000 to start. $28,000 I flipped into 23 units over 4 years. You could do it too, but you have to study your market. Because why I was able to do it is I found the good deals that were on the MLS that anybody could have bought, but I found them. I saw I could increase rents. I saw I could make them a little bit nicer and do that. Now you think, well, Pascal, well, why wouldn't anybody else do it? How come you got it? No one else did it. Some people don't want to fix a property. Some people just want to buy property finished. Most people want to buy property finished. Most people want to buy a brand new car or a brand new phone or brand new whatever. They don't want to buy something that's fixed or used. So when you buy something and you fix it, you get the extra money for making it better, making it nicer. So it's not that hard. You just got to find the deals. That's what's important. You got to study your market so you know what the deals are. Watch my videos so you can understand how to calculate your numbers and your ratios. How long should you wait to sell a property? Now I'm going to talk about some of the tax rules. If you keep a property for 1 year, it goes from a long-term capital gain of 35%, drop down to a tax of 15% for a long-term capital gain. Short-term capital gain, 35%, long-term 15%. Now, if you live in the property and you lived in it for 2 years, out of 5 years, when you sell it, you can make up to $250,000 of profit and not have to pay any tax on it. That's right. You can make $250,000 profit and pay 0 tax on it. If you like that, smash the like button. So, again, I keep my properties normally around 5 years before I sell. Fishy asked a really good question. He says, can you buy happiness? Laugh out loud. You can't, I enjoy doing real estate, so I have fun doing this, in addition to my other investments. But real estate's a lot of fun because as you're doing it, you can see it being done. You can have a passion for what you're doing and enjoy making the place look better. And I own this property in this area. This is so cool. Now, what it does buy, what I like, is it buys freedom. You can choose to work more. You could choose to do more deals. You can choose to work a job and do this. Or when you get to the point where you're making enough money, you can choose not to. So what it does is it buys freedom. Now, with that freedom, you can choose to work on yourself because to really have a balanced life, which not happy. Happy is short term. But you want a balanced life, there is spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. Now, if you're financially strong and you have the freedom to do whatever you want, you can spend time on your physical body, on your emotions, on your finances. I said finances, but your relationships, your religion, your religious self, your spiritual self. So spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. And that's a nice thing because now I have the time. I can read when I want. I can work out when I want. I can go and spend time with my kids when I want. So it's that benefit that you have. It buys freedom. And that's what it's all about. And then happiness, you pursue your happiness, right? Happiness isn't owned, right? It's a work in progress. Fishy also asks, what exactly is escrow? So, all of us have heard of this term before, right? Escrow. Escrow is what you have at the bank. And the bank you buy a house, you mortgage. Your mortgage is taxes, your mortgage is principal and interest. Now, what the bank will normally tell you is they want you to escrow your taxes and your insurance. What that means is they want you to give them every month money for the next 12 months. And what they're going to do is they're going to add up all this money into this checking account, and they will pay your taxes and insurance for you when they come due, just in case you're not good with your money and you can't pay your bills on time. That's escrow. So they take your money for 12 months. They pay you no interest on that money that they're holding for 12 months for your taxes and insurance. They normally take about 25% more than what your actual tax insurance are. They hold it in an account, and they're going to escrow it for you and pay that bill when it comes. Now, my escrows or my total taxes and insurance for the year comes to almost like $50,000, right? I'm not going to let the bank hold $50,000 from me. I'm not going to let them hold my money and not pay me any interest. That's just crazy. I'm going to be conservative enough to do it myself, right? But again, at the end of the year, you're going to have to pay that big tax bill. You're going to have to pay that big insurance bill every year when it comes to the renewal of owning the property. So you have to be prepared for it. All right, next question is on leveraging. And over-leveraging is an over-leveraged debt to get deals. Over-leveraging is as in over-leveraging debt to get deals. So if you're saying you're going to max out all your credit cards and pull cash out to then put it as a down payment to get a hard money loan to work on the property and then hopefully increase value to refinance and pay everything off, over leveraging like that, I never did that in that fashion because it's extremely risky. It is extremely risky. I mean, it's like playing with like lighter fluid with literally like, in a wheat field or something, right? Like it's extremely risky. It can blow up really bad. So normally it's not worth it. It's better for you to get a partner that has the money and split it because you're going to learn from them. And even if for some crazy reason they screw you over and don't give you the $10,000 you're supposed to get for this deal, you at least learned by following them and seeing how they do everything. Don't do all the bad stuff they did if they did try to screw you over and whatever, and any other way they try to screw anybody else over. Don't copy that. But do copy the good things you learned from them, right? Because the value that you learned that didn't cost you any money is amazing. And that's what's key, learning. What percentage should you plan on for unexpected maintenance? Roof issues, plumbing, etc. So Nancy, regarding you should probably put away around 10% of the rent towards maintenance expenses. Now, roof should not be unexpected. You should be inspecting the roof and knowing it has useful life. You should know how old the water heater is. You should know how old the AC unit is. You should know how old these major items are, because all those major items should not be unexpected. Can you have a plumbing leak? Yes. But if the water heater is 10 years old, then you know you have to change it. It's not going to be unexpected, right? You should be like, okay, the water heater is 10 years old. We have to change it. I would like a credit of $1,000 when I buy your house because that's what it costs to change your water heater. Excuse me for my voice, guys. It's a little rough. You keep saying to put $20,000 into a remodel. My experience is that you can't do much with that amount of money. Nancy, $20,000 is my example on a $100,000 property. So that's about 20%. The property I bought, $920,000, I put $400,000 into the remodel. So that is like that is almost 50%. So it's like 40%. So as you can tell, yes, $20,000 is an example figure. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to tell you this is that when you buy it, plus your remodel, you should have a lot of equity when you're finished. So by studying your market, you know if I buy a property for $200,000, that's worth $300,000, and my remodel budget is going to be $60,000. I'm going to make $40,000 on this deal. And I know that because I know what the properties are selling for remodeled in that area because I did studies of the market. That's a real takeaway of what I'm trying to give, not 100,000, 20,000 remodel, right? Those are just numbers I'm bringing up. One of my deals, I bought the property I told you about for $95,000. I bought that property for $95,000. My remodel budget was $100,000. I put in more money into the place that I bought it for. So, but I knew when I sold it, I'd be able to sell it for a lot of money, for more than what I spent on it. So, James Pan says, how does refinance work? If I buy a beat up property for 100K with 20% down and 20K for rehab, now valued 200. Should I go back to the bank after rehab and refinance to 200 and ask them to give me more money after? So again, on YouTube, I have videos explaining the refinance process. So definitely watch my videos on YouTube. There's a lot of videos, I have hour-long videos that are like this, that I go in detail explaining many topics. And then I have the shorter ones that are like under 10 minutes. Watch all those videos a few times. They explain a lot of these concepts. I'm going to explain this to you real quickly, though. So if you buy a property for 100K and you put down 20,000, that means the loan you have currently is $80,000. You put 20,000 of your cash. Then you put down another 20,000 into rehab, your cash, or credit cards, whatever. Now, you basically are in for 120, and the current mortgage is only 80,000. The bank will give you most likely a loan of 160,000. Okay, so they're going to pay off the other $80,000 loan, and they're going to give you $80,000 cash, and then you're going to be left with one mortgage for 160,000. Now, you should take the 80,000 cash they gave you and pay off the 20,000 in your credit cards that you used to rehab the property, leaving you with $60,000 cash. From there, out of the 60, remember 20 is your original investment that you got back. So you netted $40,000 from that transaction. And that's how BRRRR method works. And now you use that money to do another deal. So you kept your original property, renting it out, making money, and now you got another deal, and you're doing it again. Nacho says, if I have a deal and bring in a partner, how should we split ownership or proceeds? It depends on what the partner is going to do. If you have a deal and that guy has the money and the resources to the remodel, they should probably get most of the money. Because remember, normally when you wholesale a deal, you're only getting $5,000 to $10,000 out of it. So if you're wholesaling it, you're only going to get 5 to 10. Now, if you make an agreement saying, hey, look, I don't want 5 to 10,